Hey everybody, it is the Lord's Day, but every day is the Lord's, so, you know. Anyway, so I listened to this podcast yesterday by David Platt on Matthew 11:28 through 30, and just like on what it means to be a disciple of Jesus, like what is the Christian life. And so I'm just going to read those couple of verses and then talk about kind of the context of like what it's like in their time period that this is being written and like recorded, and then just kind of give like some comparisons to our world we live in now. So Matthew 11:28 through 30 says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. You will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So Jesus is talking to the Jewish people. They have the Ten Commandments, but they also have this huge piling on of laws. Hence, all who labor and heavy laden, like not only are you working, but you're also trying to follow every tiny little law and thing the Pharisees have said is how to be right with the Lord. And that can be exhausting. And just, he's speaking to a tired people who are waiting for the Messiah. And he has come to them to give them rest. No other, like, I guess, like, religious leader or religion or anything is like, oh, come to me and I'll give you rest. It's like, no, actually do these 20, 100 million things to be right with me, to do the right thing. But Jesus doesn't give them a list. He's just like, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. During that time, before we had machinery, or I guess, if you don't use machinery, oxen, if there's two of them in a yoke, there's one who is stronger and more skilled, and there's one who's weaker and less skilled. So the weaker one can learn from the stronger one, but not have to carry all the weight of the load that they're trying to do, whether they're plowing or moving something. And like that's us. Like Jesus says, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. But the thing is, he's asking for perfection. Like, we're called to be perfect before God. And that's, by ourselves is impossible to be perfect before God, because we sin and we fall short of God's glory always. And so Jesus takes it all upon himself. Like, as we know, as we've read, as we've learned, he took our sin, all of it. And like he died for our sin, that he could live in us, that we could have life in him, that he could be in us. And so just thinking about, all the things that weigh us down, like, what does being a good Christian look like? It's like having a quiet time and being involved in your church and not swearing or not drinking or whatever, like whatever rules and regulations we put on ourselves, we place it on ourselves to become a better Christian. But the thing is, you can't become better. You're a Christian. Like, there's no measuring stick of how good or bad of a Christian you are. And we're not supposed to be comparing ourselves to other Christians. It's not a comparison. It's living with Jesus. That we're a Christian, and he's not improving us. He's not giving us self-help books. He's asking us to learn from him. And that's not a list of things to do. Like, he's just, I feel like just like the Jewish people, we can have all these rules and, like, ideas of how we should be. And then we're so busy striving after being a faithful person that we don't rest in Jesus, who is faithful. And so, yeah, with everything being, like, shut down because of quarantine, and, like, you can still do church online. You can still, youth groups meet over Zoom. We do it every Wednesday. It's a good time. But it's just going to be time to reflect on the fact that I get so stressed and overwhelmed with the fact that I am a horrible Christian. Like, I barely read my Bible regularly, and I have a really bad attitude all the time that I'm trying to work on. And just this list of things I should be working on to become better, to become, to, like, share God better, to be more godly, be more honoring to the Lord. But that's just me striving, trying to do things in my own flesh and just making a list of things to work on. But the list is never going to end if I just keep writing down things that I need to change. Which comes to my point of that Jesus isn't trying to improve us. He's transforming us. It's not about us. It's about him and us transforming us. Hence, his yoke is easy and his burden is light. We need to not only give up all our sin to him, but we need to give up all our striving to him. We need to give up the fact that we are completely incapable of being obedient to God. And that it's only through Christ that we can do those things, and that it's him in us that allows us to do those things. And so, while I'm home quarantined, while you're home quarantined, not being able to actually go to church and meet in person, just maybe reflect on why do you do the things that you do? It's not wrong to do good things, but is that flowing out of, a love for the Lord and just wanting to share Christ any way you can? Or is it you trying to, be perfect of your own will, of trying to do all the things so that you can present yourself worthy of, being with the Lord, worthy of going to heaven, worthy of whatever you need to be worthy of. Because ultimately, it's not going to work. Only Christ makes us worthy. Only Christ makes us perfect, and only he can transform us. We can't transform ourselves. So instead of focusing on all the, physical things we can do to make us a better person, better Christian, we should be focusing on, how to rest in the Lord, how to live with Christ, how to live with Christ in us, let him live through us. And I'm still figuring out what that looks like for me. And that's not a bad thing, that I'm trying to seek the Lord more than I'm trying to seek the right things to do to make me look like I'm the best Christian I can be. So just some thoughts, just some things I've been thinking about that are not exactly in a good order and mostly rambled out, but just trying to remind everyone that we're supposed to be walking alongside and learning from Christ. He didn't give us a huge checklist. Chasing after Christian culture and Christian religion is different than chasing after Christ. And we need to really reflect on what we're living for. Is Christ our life, or is he just our Savior? And are we living for him, or are we living for us? We're living for our own glory. So if any of y'all have questions or have prayer requests or anything, just shoot me a text, let me know, message me on Messenger. That's it.